You know, one of the greatest lessons life ever taught me is that silence can be more powerful than noise. We live in a time where everyone wants to announce everything, their dreams, their goals, their next big move. But here's the truth. Every time you talk too much about what you're going to do, you drain the very energy you need to actually do it. See, it's easy to sound successful. It's easy to tell your friends what you're working on, to post it online, to get a little applause before you've even begun. But that's not achievement. That's illusion. That's feeding the ego before feeding the dream. Let me tell you something I learned early in my journey. The seed grows best in silence. You don't dig it up every day to show people. You protect it, you nurture it, and you let the results speak for you. So if you're serious about success, stop seeking validation and start building quietly. Because when your work is finished, you won't need to tell anyone about your plans. Your results will make the announcement for you. Silence is not weakness, it's the foundation of strength. Most people lose momentum, not because they lack potential, but because they leak energy through unnecessary talk. Every time you share your goals with the world, you invite opinions, doubts, and distractions. And those opinions start shaping your direction more than your own conviction. It feels good to tell people what you're working on. It gives you that quick rush of approval, a little applause before the curtain has even lifted. But that short-term validation steals the long-term satisfaction that comes from quiet progress. When you talk too much about your plans, your mind begins to believe it has already achieved something. That illusion of progress robs you of the hunger to work for it. Silence keeps you sharp, focused, and humble. It allows your energy to flow inward where creation actually happens. You don't need to convince anyone that you're going somewhere. The journey will show it when you arrive. Silence protects your vision from external noise. It keeps it pure, untouched by other people's fears or limitations. Every time you open your mouth about your dream, remember you're giving someone else the opportunity to pollute it with doubt or jealousy. Great builders don't announce every brick they lay. They just keep building until the structure speaks for itself. You can't talk success into existence, but you can build it in silence. The mind that learns to stay silent learns to listen, and listening is where wisdom begins. Your ideas need protection in their early stages. They are fragile, easily destroyed by criticism or comparison. Guard them like you would guard a flame in the wind. The world doesn't need to know every move you're making. It needs to see the result when it's ready. Silence also allows you to surprise yourself. When you stop talking and start working, you realize how much more capable you are than you thought. The focus shifts from performance to purpose. You stop wasting time explaining your plans and start investing time executing them. And execution, not explanation, is what creates transformation. Every successful person has mastered the art of silent discipline. They know when to speak and when to stay invisible. They understand that growth doesn't need attention. It needs intention. Talking spreads your energy thin. Silence concentrates it. When you stay silent, you conserve the power that would otherwise be spent convincing others. You redirect that energy toward creation, mastery, and execution. The quieter you become, the stronger your moves get. Your silence becomes a form of self-respect, a declaration that your vision doesn't need validation to exist. And when your silence becomes your strategy, your results become your voice. Real power is revealed through results, not promises. When you work in private, you create a sacred space between your effort and the world's opinions. That space is where growth happens. It's where discipline is built, skills are sharpened, and resilience is tested, the truth is, no one can see your vision the way you do. And if you spend your time explaining it to others, you dilute the fire that fuels it. Working in silence allows you to protect that fire. It lets you fail quietly, learn privately, and rise without the noise of judgment. You don't need applause for every small step. You need progress. Every great achievement begins in solitude. The painter doesn't invite a crowd while working on the masterpiece. The athlete trains in empty gyms before performing under bright lights. The writer spends nights in silence before the book touches a reader's hands. Success is never born in public view. It's revealed after long hours of private effort. Announcing your plans gives people expectations, and expectations bring pressure. Pressure makes you perform for approval instead of passion. But when you stay silent, your only focus is the work. You're not distracted by who's watching or what they think. You're driven by what you're building. Private work builds public power. The person who learns to be invisible while creating becomes unstoppable when it's time to show results. Results have a way of silencing critics. You don't need to argue your worth when your actions speak louder. Every move you make in private compounds into strength, confidence, and mastery. And when the time comes, your results become undeniable evidence of your commitment. That's how true winners operate. They don't talk about what they're going to do. They just do it over and over again until the noise fades and the work stands tall. Working in private also protects your peace. It keeps you from comparing your progress to others. It reminds you that growth is not a race, but a personal evolution. The silence of the process becomes a kind of meditation, a place where you reconnect with your purpose, realign your goals, and strengthen your will. The world often confuses visibility with progress, but real progress happens away from attention. When you build quietly, you eliminate distractions and preserve energy for what truly matters. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Let your achievements become your announcement. When the results appear, they speak in a language everyone understands, the language of proof. People may doubt your words, but they can't argue with evidence. So keep your eyes on the work. Keep your head down and your standards high. The satisfaction of unveiling something complete, something real, something you built without noise, that satisfaction is far greater than any applause that comes from talking about plans. Validation is one of the most subtle traps on the journey to success. It feels good when people agree with you, when they praise your ideas, when they tell you you're destined for greatness. But that praise can become poison if you start depending on it the moment your motivation comes from someone else's approval. You've already surrendered control of your direction. Discipline is born from internal drive, not external applause. When you do something just to be seen, you start working for attention instead of achievement. You stop doing it because it's right and start doing it because it's recognized. That shift destroys consistency because validation fades, and when it's gone, your effort collapses with it. Real progress doesn't need an audience. The gym is empty when champions are made. The office is quiet when empires are built. The nights are long and unseen when breakthroughs are born. Validation feels like energy, but it's actually distraction disguised as encouragement. It gives a false sense of accomplishment before the real work has even begun. The disciplined mind knows the difference between being celebrated and being capable. One is temporary, the other is permanent. When you chase validation, you start adjusting your plans to fit people's opinions. You begin editing your vision to gain their support. That's how dreams lose their authenticity. Slowly, quietly, through small compromises. The disciplined person doesn't need to announce every move or justify every decision. They are fueled by a private commitment, an invisible contract with themselves. They understand that approval is never the goal. Mastery is. Validation is the enemy of discipline because it feeds comfort, not hunger. It gives the illusion that you've arrived when in reality you've just been distracted. The applause can make you forget that the real reward comes from the process, from the quiet repetition of effort that no one sees. Discipline requires silence because silence keeps you grounded. It reminds you that you're not done yet. It forces you to rely on your own standard, your own promise, your own integrity. When you're no longer chasing validation, you become dangerous in the best way. You're no longer influenced by trends, opinions, or temporary recognition. You build according to your values, not the crowd's expectations. Validation can't teach you persistence. Failure can. Validation can't make you grow. Discomfort does. The disciplined person chooses the hard path, the lonely path, the path where results take time. That's the difference between performers and producers. One needs applause to act, the other creates even in silence. When you let go of the need for validation, your mind becomes free to focus entirely on execution. You stop caring who's watching and start caring about what's working. You stop explaining your dreams and start refining them. The goal is not to be seen doing it. The goal is to become so consistent, so disciplined, that one day people wonder how you did it without them even noticing. There's a quiet kind of power in letting your actions do the talking. Words are easy. Anyone can talk about what they want to do, who they plan to become, or what they believe they're capable of. But actions tell the truth. They reveal whether your ambition is real or just a performance. When you stop talking and start doing, you separate yourself from the majority because most people are addicted to noise. They love to sound busy, to look productive, to appear motivated. But appearance means nothing if it's not followed by consistent execution. When your words are louder than your actions, people stop believing in you. But when your actions are louder than your words, people start respecting you without you saying a thing. Every great achiever understands this principle. Results have more authority than rhetoric. You don't need to convince others that you're changing. They'll feel it when your behavior shifts, when your habits evolve, when your results improve. The quiet worker always wins because while others are busy talking about success, he's already building it. Let actions make the noise because actions are undeniable. You can argue with opinions, but you can't argue with results. A person who delivers doesn't need validation, doesn't need attention, doesn't need applause. They're too busy creating proof. And proof is the ultimate language of achievement. When your work speaks, it speaks with clarity, power, and truth. It doesn't exaggerate. It doesn't pretend. It simply shows what is. That's why those who move in silence are often the most feared and respected. They don't waste time explaining. They use that time to execute, to improve, to deliver. Talking consumes energy that could be invested in building. Every minute spent explaining your vision is a minute stolen from working on it. So instead of telling people what you're going to do, show them what you've done. The difference is credibility. Talking creates expectation, action creates evidence, and evidence doesn't need a speech. The more you act, the less you have to talk. The world begins to notice on its own. People who once doubted you become silent because they can't argue with what's visible. They can ignore your words, but they can't ignore your transformation. That's the beauty of letting actions make the noise. They don't need defending. The progress you make becomes your voice. The habits you build become your introduction. The discipline you show becomes your reputation. You don't have to announce every step or justify every decision. You just keep working until the results start echoing in rooms you haven't even entered yet. That's how real power moves, quietly, efficiently, intentionally. No hype, no noise, no show, just proof. Real strength doesn't broadcast itself, it reveals itself when the time is right. The noise fades, the words vanish, but the work remains. A tree doesn't announce its growth. It simply reaches deeper into the soil, drawing strength where no one can see. The same is true for success. The strongest roots always grow underground, far away from eyes and applause. What people see on the surface, the achievements, the wealth, the recognition, is only the result of invisible effort. The unseen hours, the quiet mornings, the private battles, the lonely nights. That's where character is built and discipline is formed. In a world obsessed with showing off progress, it takes real strength to stay hidden while you grow. The process is not glamorous, it's full of repetition, doubt, and silence. But that's where the foundation of greatness is laid. Growth is fragile when it begins. It needs protection from noise, from comparison, from the constant temptation to prove something to others. When you keep your efforts underground, you give them time to solidify before exposure. Roots don't seek validation, they seek stability. And the deeper they go, the higher the tree can rise. If you reveal too much too soon, you risk weakening the process. Everyone wants to shine, but few want to build the structure that makes the shine possible. The truth is, the deeper your discipline, the stronger your confidence becomes. You stop worrying about recognition and start focusing on mastery. The underground phase is where you face your fears without witnesses, where you fail privately and learn quietly. It's not meant to impress anyone. It's meant to prepare you for everything. When your efforts are hidden, no one can interfere, no one can judge, no one can discourage you. That isolation becomes fuel for your transformation. You learn to depend on yourself, to find energy from within, and to grow regardless of circumstances. Just like roots that push through rock and soil in search of nourishment, your persistence in the dark prepares you for strength in the light. When success finally appears, people call it sudden, but you know it was years of unseen labor. The most stable structures are not built on show, they're built on unseen support. In silence, you refine your craft. You strengthen your mindset, you prepare your spirit. You stop chasing attention and start creating alignment. That's the real secret of unstoppable people. Their best work is done in the shadows. They don't need to be seen to keep going. They know that what's hidden today will one day sustain what's visible tomorrow. The deeper your roots, the less likely you are to fall when storms come. The world will only see the branches, but you'll know that the strength came from what was buried beneath. That's why patience is power. Every bit of effort you invest underground multiplies its strength above ground. You don't rush the process, you respect it. Because you understand that what grows in silence grows stronger, and what grows stronger eventually changes everything around it.